Hello everyone, today we're going to be continuing by learning about the rook. So the rook is quite straightforward, it's worth 5 points and it's the second most valuable piece. So in strength of all the pieces, it's right behind the queen, it's more powerful than the bishop and it's more powerful than the knight. Because we know the bishop and knight are both worth 3 points and the rook is 5, so it's obviously more powerful. And the rook can move forward, backward, and sideways as far as it wants, but only in a straight line. So, kind of like a compass, it goes forward, also goes backwards, and it also goes to the side. So, you can see what I'm saying when I mean it's like a compass, and it can only go as far as it wants in a straight line. And this is, of course, if there's no pieces. And it doesn't have any special moves, and we can see how the rook looks like in the corner, just like this. So if we look at the rook on a real board now, we can see how it moves. So it's going sideways and it's going up and down, and you might be asking why the rest of the squares are highlighted in red. It's because remember, the rook can't jump over other pieces, only the knight can do that. So it actually can't even move to these to this square that I'm pointing to. So these, for example. But the green squares it can move to because there's nothing stopping it from going there. So this rook can actually just take this bishop and just take this pawn. And you'll notice that this pawn now is highlighted in red because, again, you can't take your own pieces. So as you can see, the rook also has a long range. It can look at many squares at the same time. And just a quick reminder that on the chessboard there's 2 rooks and they start on the corners. So it's kind of hard to bring them into the game sometimes because they start on the corners. So that's one point. And then let's look at this example. Now that we know how the rooks move, so we can see there's 2 rooks on the board. There's a white one and there's a black one. So now if I ask you, where can this white rook move so that it captures a piece? So obviously I mean capturing one of black's pieces. So we can look at how the rook moves. So we know it goes forward and it goes all the way because there's no other pieces. It also goes sideways, but there's no black pieces on any of these squares. It can also go back. Now I'm not highlighting this square because our king is there. And it also goes to this side. So now if we look through the rook scope, we can see that it can actually capture this knight. So this would be the answer. I can go ahead and capture this knight. So the white rook could go and capture this knight. Now if I ask you the exact same question but for the black rook this time, we can see that it goes all the way sideways here, but there's no white piece. It also goes here, it also goes back, and it also looks forward. Again, I'm not going to highlight this square because it can't just jump over this pawn. And speaking of pawn, that would be our answer. We can just capture this pawn, and that would be our answer. And again, now if I'm playing with the white rook, because it's white's turn, I can see that I can just capture this pawn as well. And now if it's black's turn, black can also capture this bishop. So that's basically just how the rook moves. It's very, very simple. You can kind of just imagine it as an escalator that goes up and down but also goes sideways. That's literally all there is to it. So before we end, let's just do one last puzzle. So we have 2 rooks and we have 4 stars that we want to capture, but we want to do it in the least amount of moves as possible. So if I look at this rook, I can see it goes all the way up, but that's not important because there's no stars there. But what is important is that it goes to the side, and it goes to the side here, and it can capture 2 stars. And if I look at this rook, it can only capture this star, but then it'll be able to capture this star. So that means there's 4 stars and I can get them all in 4 moves, which is the fastest way. So I can start with this rook, I can go ahead and capture this star first, and then I can go all the way and shift it to the other side of the board and capture this star. And now again, I could go here and then just capture the stars, but that's kind of wasting a turn because I can just go much faster and use this rook. So I'll use this rook to capture this star, and then this rook to go down and capture this star. That would be the answer. So that's basically it to rooks. As I said, fairly simple. And hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, leave a like, and we'll see you next time.